Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Pursuit Live. I'm your producer, Chris. Joining me, as always, your faithful creator and co host, Mr. Dave Hawkins.
What's going on, everybody? Good evening. Happy Friday night. That's all I'm going to say for right now.
And joining us tonight, we have a special guest for everybody. Now, in honor of Tree Stand Safety Awareness Month, which just ended, we are bringing on Mr. Tree Stand Safety himself, Jerry Wydner, the co-founder and co-owner of Hunter Safety Systems. Jerry, thank you for joining us tonight.
Oh, pleasure. And you're right. Tree Stand Safety Awareness Month just ended, but hey, the actions don't end. We got to stay safe going forward.
100%. And listen, as a professional safety engineer, I do want to say, listen, I want to thank you up front for everything that you're doing for the entire outdoor community. The products that you develop, they save lives. They're a necessary part of everybody's gear, and just thank you for everything that you've done and that you guys are continuing to do for the outdoor industry.
Well, I certainly appreciate that, and I'm humbled to hear it. It keeps me motivated because I'm not in the sexy part of we make the seatbelt, so to speak. So
a good way to put that. I like that.
All right. So, seeing how we don't really have any announcements other than congratulations to everybody who so far has harvested. Good luck to everybody who will be going out. What do you guys say? You guys want to get started right away?
I think so. Let's get into it, right?
Dive right into it.
All right. So, Jerry, good evening, buddy. We had a great talk before the show. We could have almost a half an episode before we hit the go live button, but we want to make it formal. And as always, we like to give our guests in the beginning a little bit time to really give us your backstory. Where do you call home? What got you in the outdoors, whether it was hunting or fishing? And just really, what was that progression over the years that led you on this great journey, which is now Hunter Safety System?
It started as a child. My brother and I, John, who was the other co-founder of Hunter Safety System, and the others working. We grew up in Detroit, and there was really nowhere to go hunting. But we had this hunting in our blood. Our dad was a hunter, but he was also a truck driver, was on the road constantly. So we didn't get to see Dad very much. Mom was trying to raise 6 kids by herself at home, working. So John and I, we would slip into these woods that, to be honest, we weren't really supposed to be in. But we quickly found outdoors was our ally. It was our passion. We loved getting out there, and the more we did it, the more we were driven to do it. So in a place where typically hunting would never even be thought of is where my roots began, loving the outdoors. I later, once I got older, I got married and ended up moving to Alabama. And it was in Alabama when my brother and I were hunting down in South Alabama, out of by the way. And his climbing stand, the base of his stand fell. We didn't have it tied off. This goes, I think he even had little ties.
Yeah.
About 25 years ago. And the base of his stand fell to the ground. And you know what? By the grace of God, he caught himself on the climber. One hand caught him on the climber. And he called me on the radio because we didn't have cell phones. But he called me. He said, "Listen, I'm in help." And I grabbed my stand, scared because I could hear it in his voice. Got over there. We finally got him to the ground, and he was bloody and totally exhausted. I was scared because I could tell that this could have been absolutely disastrous. And while he's laying on the ground trying to get his breath, I looked at him and I said, "John, why weren't you wearing your harness?" And he looked at me and said, "Were you wearing yours?" And that was the moment Hunter Safety System started. We said at that time, we've got to come up with a harness that we will wear, because you all know in the early days, the harnesses were pretty much straps and buckles, spaghetti straps, difficult to put on. And we use the use of inconvenience to get between us and safety, and almost cost my brother's life. So we were staying in a camper that night and drew up all the designs of the hunter safety system, and it started right there in that camper in South Alabama. And by the way, we had no intentions of selling these. They were just making them for ourselves. That was it. But started.
That's I mean, it's a pretty powerful story with a product like this. It makes sense that it was a type of scenario like that where it was, like you said, near fatal. By the grace of God, it wasn't, but it takes something like that to spark that ingenuity, that idea. And I like how you preface it. It's not the most glamorous part of the hunting industry. It's the seatbelt portion of the of that fancy sports car. So that was pretty interesting way to put it. But again, it's we take it for granted. When you take something for granted when you're doing it for so long, that's very dangerous. That's a very dangerous, almost as dangerous as the act itself. So for you guys to see this problem and just constantly evolve it, have that foresight to keep evolving it. Because even like I'm wearing mine now, we talked before the show. This is your brand is the only brand I've worn since I was 15 years old. But even looking back when I was younger, and I think back to some of the older models, yeah, they weren't as comfortable as these are now. All the built-in suspension systems, the built-in pockets, but we'll get into more of that. Um, how did you assemble the team now? Because obviously, just not yourself and your brother. Like, what was the natural progression to build this hunting safety team? Or what was your first warehouse? Like, how did that natural progression take part to almost lead you to where you're at now?
Well, it started in my uncle's garage. You know, every place has to have a start.
Yep.
Again, no intentions of really building these to sell. But as I would wear them and my brother, we would go out hunting and people would see it and they would ask us about it. Happened over and over and over again. And I had several people say, "Could you make me one?" And they weren't easy to make. They were very difficult to make.
Mhm.
When I first took it to a factory to have them make it, they told us it can't be done. Sorry, it's a great idea, but we can't do it. It's too labor intensive. So we took that, had to find out a way to make it a yes. And we went back and totally redesigned it again. Took it back to that same factory. Listen, if we did it this way, and it's too difficult to explain what I'm talking, but it was a complete different way of manufacturing, and said, could you do it if we built it in this fashion? And they looked at it and said, you know what? I think we can. Leave that with me, and I'll call. The next day, they called and had them made. And that was, again, I look at that as a blessing. I mean, that's God's blessing looking down and
Mhm.
saying, we need hearing it. I've chosen you to get out there and make it happen. And he gave us the wisdom, gave us the insight, the ways to do it. And I'll always thank him for that. But it's gone from that. We still have the very first one we ever made, by the way, in the office. It's under glass. It's up there.
That's cool. That's very cool.
But now we've evolved so much over the years, up with better buckles, better strapping material, better stick evolve, and we've never been the cheapest out there, and I don't apologize for that because we're the best one out there, and I don't say that lightly. I don't say it's. I say it because this is all we do. And like I mentioned before, we're not in that glamorous part of the industry. We're in saving lives. I take that very seriously and don't cut corners. I don't look at it and say, you know what, I could buy that thread a little cheaper and I could buy that one. If it's a better thread, that's what I get. If that's a better buckle, that's the one I get. If that's strong strapping material, that's what I get. But I sleep good at night knowing that that product is made as good as it can possibly be made because people's lives depend on that.
Was there any time that you actually took some of like the well, actually, Chris, when was OSHA founded? 70s, 80s, if I remember correctly.
Didn't you take OSHA 30? You should
I
know all
did.
about
I'm
the
drawing a
OSHA
blank
Act.
at the moment.
It was
So
during the Nixon administration.
okay. Was there at any point now this is considered PPE. Was there at any point where you guys started hitting a roadblock and you actually had to reach out to OSHA, or like when did you guys have to start meeting certain requirements, let's say, for this product? Um, when you wanted to sell it as a product, like what's that process like? What type of certifications and testing?
You know, company in the year 2000. That's actually when the accident happened, and we started right then.
Oh, okay. I thought it was a little bit later than okay.
We immediately started looking for a way to have things tested. We own testing, but we weren't. Nothing's calibrated. We couldn't certify anything ourselves.
Mhm.
So I some independent testing laboratories to be able to test it and have it certified. And I came across TMA, Tree Stand Manufacturers Association, and they had just recently been formed, maybe only 5 years earlier. But I started talking with them and John Lauk, who was the executive director at the time, and I told him my problem, what I was doing. He was very excited about it because they, at the time, had just passed the ruling of saying all tree stands must come with safety. And that disrupted the whole industry because the tree stand companies did not want to include a harness. They weren't cut and sew people, they were welders. So they said, I don't want to include a harness. I don't want any part, but they were being forced to do it. So when we on the scene right about that time, it was actually again just good timing for us to come in. So TMA was responsible, at least at that point, of setting all the standards, put me in touch with some testing laboratories that I did send all of my product to for testing, and I still send it to these same factories today
Really?
and make
Wow.
sure it's certified. And I've sent a whole lot of product over there to those people.
I bet. I bet. Producer Chris, what do you got, buddy? Let's get you in the mix a little bit.
Well, yeah, I do. I do want to kind of want to. I want to go back to like the very original harness. Now, I imagine this was very rudimentary. Nylon webbing. No Cobra buckles. This was just kind of give us a breakdown of like how you built the very first harness and like your thought process. And I forgive maybe because I am an engineer and I specialize in safety specifically, so I'm gonna get a little technical with some of this, but just how you got into the design and some of your first drafts, if you will, or your first prototypes and the different buckle choices that you went with, and just kind of break that down for us.
Not being an engineer like you were. In fact, I was an insurance agent, and my brother worked for General Motors, so we knew nothing about any of this. But we were deer hunters, and we were passionate deer hunters. We both had families. We both had children that depended on us, wives that depended on us. So we were motivated to do this. And in designing the first ones, we had to ask ourselves a few questions. And again, because it was meant for us, it wasn't meant for commerce. It was just meant for us to be wear something that we knew we would wear. So some of the questions were, why don't I wear this harness? So I had to answer that myself. Well, it's complicated. I don't like these weave through buckles. I've got dangling straps all over the place. They get in the way of my pockets. I've got all these pockets that I need to put my gear in, and now my harness is right in front of it, and I can't get to my pockets. So those were some of the things that motivated us to say, all right, let's develop a quick snap buckle. Instead of a weave through, let's create a quick snap buckle. Well, and that was all good and well, except when you have a quick snap buckle, how do you adjust it? With a weave through, all you got to do is just keep pulling it through and it'll just keep adjusting. However, by doing that, it results in dangling straps, which get in your way. It's a trip hazard. There's lots of negatives to it. So then we developed a system, a slide bar system, to be able to click it shut and then use the slide bar as you have on your harness right now, Chris,
Yep.
and it makes the adjustment. But while it makes the adjustment, it absorbs its own slack. So there's no dangling strap when you do it. The one that you've got right there, you can look at it on the leg straps and see just how that works. Well, that same system is today. Now we have better material products to it's that same system. In fact, it's a patent. So we patented that in the early days. Another feature was, I talked about my harness getting in the way of my pockets. Well, we thought, why not put pockets in this? Would we not put pockets?
Loaded with pockets on a side note, and like almost, I would say you could replace a fanny pack. There's enough pocket storage on here. Um, and without a doubt, like I'll keep binos, hand warmers, a grunt tube, like all just right here in here. Range, if I didn't say rangefinder, deep, they don't fall out on you. There is places you could actually lash on, like with eye rings and everything, to secure it if you wanted to. So you definitely hit something as far as the storage, the pockets, and utilizing. If you're going to have this panel on here, why not make it pockets and storage and everything that we just mentioned?
Certainly. If your original harness is going to cover up your pockets, why not replace them with the harness itself? And
Yep.
was an we wanted to work with. Um, the original harness was it had blaze orange on one side and camo on the outside. It was a mossy oak camo.
Mhm.
It called it the reversible harness. That was the money over the years. That sort of just fell out of favor with hunters, and we don't even make that one any longer. But it was the first, and was I still have people. In fact, I had a guy call me yesterday, still wanting one of those reversible harnesses. And
Yeah.
but got a lot of new models coming out with that.
Very cool. Could it be something as simple like sometimes with the turkey vest, like you have the drop down orange flag that goes down on the back? At least then you get your blaze orange factor.
Absolutely, we've kind of looked at that as well.
Cool.
Is seems to have its own regulations as blaze orange is needed.
Yes.
And it has to be a hat and a vest.
Mhm.
Material, some allow mesh material. So if you have to try to look at all regulations throughout all the states and see what you can do to accommodate at least the majority of them.
Now, I do have another question. When it comes to the lifeline itself, kind of give me a break there because I work with a number of different lanyards and lifelines, and whether they're the bungee type that self deploy on themselves or the self retracting. How did you land on the current design with the peel away? How many prototypes did you go through before you finally found one that you were happy with?
Are you talking about the lifeline, or are you talking about the tearaway stitching on the tether of the
The
hump?
the terror, yeah, on the
Probably
actual
the
the
tether up
yeah.
here. Yeah.
Stitching versus the elastic bungee, because the problem with the bungee, they work fine and they do a good job. But anybody that's using that ozone equipment uh, tears up anything that's plastic, so it can deteriorate that bungee portion of it if it's exposed to the ozone uh, products. So we stay away from that. We stay with tearaway stitching, which is and every time somebody falls, it has a series of tearaway stitches, which helps cushion that fall and make it. I won't say make it comfortable. It'll make it less miserable. I'll put it that.
Right. This is actually like a de-acceleration device at that point. It's going to try and cushion that blow. Whereas, like if you just took a strap and broke it and rip it, that fall would be very abrupt. This is meant to slow you down about that three. I think a normal breakaway is about 3 feet. What is 18 and a half feet essentially, right? From point of anchor to ground, roughly is what the clearance is, about 18 and a half feet, plus a safety factor. So I'm doing good, Chris. I'm passing.
Obviously, you paid attention, and
Yeah.
I mean,
So and obviously, Jerry, why don't obviously let's hear it from the professional. How did they figure 18 and a half feet or roughly on that dimension for the safety factor for this breakaway style harness to be fully effective for, let's say, a hunter as opposed to a construction worker?
In the recreational set of standards, which it regulated through AST, used to regulated it. Now they've turned that over to ASTM standards, which is similar to the OSHA standards and others within the industrial world. But they do things now a little differently. They do it according to weight versus that 18.5 foot you're talking
Okay.
about. They be rated to, well, you can rate it to whatever you want to rate it to. We put it that way. But we rate it as 300 pounds because that seems to be what the tree stands are rated at.
Mm-hmm.
We're the only company I know of that actually has a harness that's rated to 400 pounds. And we don't sell a lot of those, but if somebody weighs 375 pounds and they say, you know what, I like to get up in a tree too. What can you do for me? Well, I don't want to discard that man. I want to build something that he's going to be safe in as well. So we've got one that it's beefy. It's built up.
Yeah.
It'll 400 person, and the test is done as twice the distance tether drop. So if you tether and attach that pole and then raised it up so you can't go any higher, that's when they drop it. So it drops approximately 6 feet. It's about a 6 foot drop, and that drop hit with more than 1,800 pounds. If it hits with more than 1,800 pounds, then you fail that test.
Okay.
Make sure that we comply with that part of the standard as well. Several segments to the testing standards, as you know, Dave, Chris, both of you do, and but that's regulated in the recreational side of the world.
Right. Well, it's good to break it down. Like there is a rhyme and a reason, and it's with something like a harnesses, it's almost hard to not have the conversation almost be a little more tech driven because there's a lot that goes into this. There is a reason everything is built to this size, this width, this thickness, and it's just tried and true testing. And it's I did want to have one of these on display specifically for this show. It's just to kind of talk on your point. Like on the inside of this harness, you're not dealing with any loose um like straps or anything like that. It's all integrated into this really nice, comfortable, like a mesh material almost. Without a doubt, the straps are in there, and you can adjust like this inner suspension system as needed. But this goes on very, very simple. It's not like that old school system where it's all right, you gotta lay it on the ground. Where's the leg straps and almost pull it up all as one. You put this on just like you would almost like a jacket or a vest, and then you could sling the leg straps through. It's very user friendly. And to your point, if it's user friendly and it's easily accessible and readily available, you'll have more success with men and women using it. If it's not comfortable, they're not going to wear it. So that is a big factor.
All right. And, nobody mandates the use of a safety deer hunter. So what we take part as it relates to the hunter, we have to put hunter friendly features into that. So they're not trying to deal with the technical aspects. We'll do that. We'll take care of that. We'll build it, certify it, test it, get it accredited so it's ready to go for any individual that picks it up. But we have to make sure that it's built with a hunter friendly feature to it, because if it's not, it becomes that same excuse I used years ago to say, too much trouble. I'm not going to fool with it. And I don't want that. I want to make sure they pick it up and say, you know what? I don't have any excuses. I
Yeah.
put click, click, I'm ready to go. And that's what I work on all the time.
Yeah, and all the sizes, like if you go on the Hunter Safety website, I mean, it's like you said, the sizings are available. You don't have to get this is more of, I guess it's like the hybrid style. Like, this is a little bit more of a heavier duty style. You can get a lower profile one. I always like wearing my harness. Like I don't wear ever a jacket when I'm hunting. At most, it'll be like a hooded sweatshirt. So my harness is always my most outer layer. So I always tend to get a larger size harness. So I know that after a layer or two, I can still fit it on and it's going to fit snug. That is one thing I want to talk about directly from you, Jerry. Proper fitting. Where should everything land? What type of slack should there be? Like, especially in the leg straps. The leg straps is a very critical area, especially for us gentlemen, where if they're not worn correctly, you could have some serious issues if deployed.
And you're right. None of us want to face those issues right there. So
Yeah,
we had changed our design. We call our saddle style. You'll notice on your leg straps, they come basically like around your buttock area. And
correct.
that feet, they're not falling with something through the middle of their legs. However, to make sure that it's done properly, we always say to adjust this comfortably snug. They don't, but there's no sense in them being loose. If they're loose, you're just because you fall into the harness. You, you know what I mean? It's the
Yes.
fall you fall into. So if it's loose on your body, you're going to impact on that fall. That if it's snug to the body, then it falls with you. If you all fall, you don't make boom contact with the harness itself. So comfortably snug is the best way to do it. And the tree is a key feature because I see people doing improperly all the time. Where it should be attached to the tree is as high as you can comfortably reach while you're standing in your tree stand. Now, the reason for that is if you were to fall at that point, you're going to fall mere inches and you're going to be able to recover back onto the stand. The lower you put that attachment point to the tree, the further you're going to fall, the more impact you're going to have, and the more difficult it's going to be to recover back onto that stand. So hang it as high as you can, comfortably and safely hang while you're standing. And it also gets the tether out of your way. If you turn, I'm a bow hunter, and with that being that high, my elbow goes under my tether. It never gets in my way. If it's too low, my elbow, as I'm pulling my bow back, makes contact with that tether. So putting it in the proper zone and also is the safest way.
I tried very hard with my quick setup here in the shop to kind of mimic those scenarios as if I was sitting in the stand. Obviously you can see if you can, this tether part is quite vertical. It's not directly slouched behind me. And to Jerry's point, now let's say I take that mid morning nap and I don't have the shooting rail down, and I happen to swing out a little bit. I'm roughly at platform height. Whereas opposed to if this anchor point, let's call that our anchor point, 3-4 feet down. Now I'm falling 3 or 4 feet. I'm that much lower, and your day just got that much more difficult.
Oh, you take an old guy like me who's too fat to begin with, it's going to back up on that stand if I get below it.
Nobody's prepared for that moment. It doesn't matter old or young. Your nerves. You're gonna be scared shitless, and it's gonna take you a couple of minutes to kind of collect those nerves, collect your shit. To be quite honestly, and figure out, all right, I'm okay, but now what? um, Have you ever been in that scenario, Chris? I know we talked before the show. We've all had our moments. It sounds like a climber has been all of our downfall, not necessarily a fall from stand. I know you're a big saddle guy. We know that, but you've hunted out of different stands before. Let's get you in the mix here a little bit.
Well, I listen, as we were talking about in the beginning of the show, I did have a moment like that. I was in my climber. I was in a tree. It was after a rainstorm. There wasn't a lot of bark on the tree. I was young, and I shimmied up this tree really quick, tied in, and I'm sitting there, and my tree stand dropped, and I didn't fall. The harness just barely got tight. But I tell you what, had that stand kept going down, it, I was tied in, and I would have survived. I would have been hanging out there for a while till somebody came looking
Right.
for me. But it was a scary moment, and to be honest with you, I was happy that I was tied off. It helped me recover a little bit faster because I was like, all right, I'm not going to die. But it's definitely a moment where it kind of that come to Jesus moment, if you will, where you're like, okay, like I need to make sure that I'm tied in all the time. And this kind of brings me to something I want to segue into, where not just being tied in when you get to the top of the tree. A lot of guys right now, they're out setting up stands. They're out, scouting, they're getting ready. And an important part of fall protection from a safety standpoint is 100% tie off, especially in construction. Jerry, you guys have taken that aspect and really kind of translated it to the woods. So now the moment somebody steps off the ground, they are secure one way or the other, whether it's through, the linesman's belt or through the drop rope. Now, if you can kind of walk us through a little bit on the linesman's well, I guess we'll get to that because we have more to talk about on the linesman's
Yeah.
belt. So
I
it
want to
just
cover one aspect if we can before we talk about the 100% tie up. There's one piece we haven't covered yet, and I think it's important. Um, if you find yourself in a scenario where you deployed this harness, full breakaway, you're hanging, you can't get to your sticks, you can't get
oh,
to
I
the
was gonna do
ladder.
self rescue at the end, Dave.
Uh, well, let's talk
Go
about it
ahead, go
now.
ahead, go
I'm
ahead,
already
go ahead.
here. Unfortunately, I don't have it on here, but the integrated foot strap that has a certified anchor point at the bottom here. Jerry, can you explain to people what that is and how to use that in alternating your foot position and why that is so critical if you find yourself hanging for a while?
Absolutely vital, and I'm glad you brought it up. It's called our suspension relief strap, and we do not make a hunter safety system harness that does not include one. It's in all of them. And in fact, the harness I was talking to you about, that's a 400-pound rated harness, it
Hmm.
comes, again, was just beefed up a little bit. But
Yeah.
if a fall scenario that you gave there, Dave, is somebody's hanging there, they have no way to relieve the pressure on those femoral arteries, through the legs.
Hmm.
Relieve that because blood pooling. Blood pooling can be very dangerous, and it can actually lead to death if it's not taken seriously and something done. So that relief strap is made to clip onto a loop that's right on the very base of your spine on the back of your harness. You just
Yep.
The other end is an adjustable loop that you stand up into that. When you do, all of your weight from your foot through the harness, through the lanyard, all the way to the tree. You have no weight on your inner legs at all. It reduces any tension there. You could literally undo your leg straps at that point. Please forget I don't want anybody to do it.
Yeah.
Point is I've got no pressure here at all. So it's a very important part of the harness. Uh, we deal a lot in that in our instructions to make sure people know what that is, how to use it. That also doubles as a deer drag, by the way.
Yes.
You get around the deer's neck, hooked to the same place, and use your harness to pull your deer.
Put it at 4 low, just start trucking. It is. I didn't know if you were going to advertise that or not, but without a doubt, it's a very ergonomic position because it's center of your body, it's low. It frees up your hands. That's the biggest thing, especially now if you got a climber, you got your climber on, you got a bow in one hand. If you know how to work like a little like cinch strap or something, this is the perfect hookup spot, and you just suck it up and just start dragging. That's a
Oh,
good problem to have, though.
well, because you're using your body to drag the deer, your shoulders, your waist, your legs,
Yes,
deer. And like you said, I've got my bow in one hand, my flashlight in the other hand, and my deer's behind me, and here we come.
that's
Right.
it. You're not doing that awkward turn where you kind of got one hand on the rope, and it's you can pull a muscle very easily that way. Like you said, you're facing forward, you're squared away. Um, so that's I'm glad I had this set up for today. Like I said, I use them. It's not just me hanging this up here because we have you on. It's truly an impressive platform, and it's not just this platform. Doesn't matter what model you guys buy from Hunter Safety, all these features are there, and it is a case of you get what you pay for. And I'm not saying the price point is out of reach. I'm just saying this is quality. You're buying a quality product that could save your life. Let's not get cheap. Don't let's buy some quality products if we're talking about that scenario.
I liken it sometimes, and I'll ask somebody, they'll say, have you got a cheap one? You got to, and I asked a man one time, I said, would you buy a used parachute? Stayed with it. And he said, what? I the ground. I mean, would you literally jump out of a plane using a parachute that you bought on eBay? I mean, you no, hopefully not. Hopefully you
Right.
won't.
Hey, we live in a funny time, Jerry. You never know, buddy. But I had a coupon. It was Amazon Prime Day. Who the hell knows? But anyway, producer Chris, boy, I'm sorry. I didn't want to forget about that feature. It's a very important feature to the overall product, but it is officially your show now,
No,
Chris. Do your thing.
I did want to get into self rescue a little bit later, but I guess it's not scripted. We can
All
run it
right.
how it
I
is.
apologize, boy. I didn't want to forget.
We'll do it live.
That's right. That's what happens when we do it live.
So, Jerry, I do want to talk about the lifeline and kind of 100% tie off
Yes.
from the
Yes.
ground to the tree and back down to the ground. And at what point did you guys kind of come up with the lifeline and this kind of giving somebody another option other than a linesman's belt?
You know, reading one day about accidents. L.J. Smith, a gentleman out of Mississippi, who was a hunter safety instructor. He was president of the IHEA, National Hunter Education Association, and he had done a study and a survey and found out that 86% of accidents happened when the person was not in the tree stand. 86% were happened when they're not in the tree stand. Well, that hit me like a ton of bricks. And I think, okay, my harness is meant to hook up once you get in your stand. Sadly, disconnect when it's time to come out of the stand. And I'm thinking 86% of the accidents are happening when people are not connected to the tree with my unit. So I immediately said, okay, I got to find a way to keep these people connected from the moment they leave the ground till they get back to the ground. And that statistic, that 86% statistic is what drove me to find a way to do that. And, I came up with several contraptions and threw them all away because when I would come up with something and you design it and you look at it, close your eyes, turn around twice, look at it with new eyes. And would I buy that? Would I use that? And try to be honest with yourself. And several, I just said no, I wouldn't. It works, but I wouldn't use it. And trial and error, we finally came up with the lifeline, the simple Prusik knot, the fact that it's cheap, it's quiet, it works every time, all the time, each and every time. It's hunter friendly. You can hang it in the tree, leave it there all season. It was the answer, and I started doing testing on it and some field testing on it, and I had some pro staff that were doing testing on it, and everybody came back and said this is it. This is the perfect scenario, and it's cheap. It's not something that's going to be expensive for people. So that was the birth of the lifeline, and like I think I said it earlier, it's been responsible for saving I don't know how many lives, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of lives since then. So it's very humbling to me.
It is.
Now, I do want to kind of branch off into the benefits of the lifeline over a linesman's belt, if you can. I know we talked about this a little bit in the pre-show, and we do have some other stuff to talk about when it comes to the linesman's belt, and we'll get to that. But kind of for anybody that's new or somebody that's kind of inexperienced with the use of the lifeline versus a linesman's belt, what are some of the added benefits to the lifeline versus using a standard linesman's belt?
Lifeline is actually an anchor point to the tree. So if you fell while you're attached to that lifeline, it's anchored. It's actually around the tree and anchored. Where the lineman's belt is not a fall restraint device, it's a stability device. It connects on both sides of your hip and it merely goes around the tree. It doesn't secure to the tree. So it's a great stability device when we're hanging stands, for instance. We're putting up ladder sections. We need two hands to do that. The old days, you'd hold on with one hand while you're trying to run a strap around. Terrible days, very dangerous days. Well, now with that lineman's belt, you can lean back and have two hands free. but don't mistake the fact that a lineman's belt is not a positive securing point to the tree. It's not a fall restraint device. It's merely a stability device. So we preach and preach and preach, and you'll notice and throughout all of our instructions, we say when you're using a lineman's belt, stay doubly attached by your tether. If you're attached by the tether, you don't have to have a lineman's belt on for safety. But if you're using a lineman's belt, make sure you're doubly attached. Attach that tether at the same time, because again, you can picture if I've got a lineman's belt on and I fall, that lineman's belt is merely around the tree. It's going to fall with me. Now it may catch on a step, it might catch on something, a limb or whatever, and
Right.
you hope it will, but it may not, and it's going to come down with you. So people don't need to be looking at the lineman's belt and think that that's actually a fall restraint device, because it truly isn't. It's a wonderful device. It's an absolutely wonderful device and allows you to have hands-free operation while you're doing all the work we're doing. And it's certainly needed.
Now, I guess now is as good a time. Now I know we spoke about some things that you guys have in the works. Can you kind of elaborate without kind of giving anything away that's not, you know, major public news, but something that, I know you guys have some things in the works that are definitely going to improve hunter safety even more than you already have. I mean, are you willing to elaborate on some of those things for us?
Sure. Yeah, I've been asked for several years, and actually, it's actually almost been scolded for several years of not getting involved in the saddle part of our hunting industry. And to be honest, I had some safety concerns with it, the lineman's belt being one of them. And I wanted to address those issues before I ever got involved in the saddle part of the industry. I'm not saying the saddle part of the industry is unsafe. I'm not saying that at all. And I truly believe it's very safe. And the products that are out there are very good. These companies making these products, they're making very good products. I'm impressed with them. But I wanted to address any and every safety aspect before I ever put my name or a product out there on the market that I felt may not have addressed all. So we've coming out right now with the full line of saddle hunting, uh, everything from stands to saddles to our ropes and carabiners and lineman's belts and tether ropes and you name it. But I've got one product in particular I think you'd really be interested in. It's called the slap strap, and I hate to say this because it sounds so cliche, but it's going to help change the world of saddle hunting for the better. It's going to make things safer, and I've been working on this for 2.5 years. But it addresses some of the issues that we come across in saddle hunting, like the slack in our lineman's belt one fall backside of the tree. If you've ever saddle hunted, part of saddle hunting, I mean, you use that lineman's belt, it does a great job and keeps us stable while we're doing all of our work. But as soon as we lean towards the tree and put slack into it, it falls down the backside of the tree. And we're constantly playing that game of pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. The slap strap, best way I can describe it is like one of those old slapping devices we used to slap on our wrist and it would hold. Well, if you can imagine that slapping around the tree, and attached to that is your tether rope and your lineman's rope, both of them. So that way, when you arrive at your tree, you take that, slap it on the tree, your ropes now are done. There's nothing else you got to do. I don't have to reach in. I don't need saddlebags anymore because they're part of this system. There's two little bags that hold those ropes right on the slap strap itself. I just unzip it, pull those ropes out, attach myself up and down the tree. So it's also the accessory strap because it's full of mollies all the way around it. So anything I need to hang is part of that slap strap system. Another real nice feature of it is I don't need any mechanical devices to tender with ropemans or any of those. They all work very well. They do. But we've developed a knot we call our tender hitch knot, and it's a one-hand operation where you can just pull your rope forward and it moves that knot up. Your link tightens immediately. It's a one-hand operation, very simple, very easy to do. Works very similar to the ropeman, but it's not mechanical. It's built into the rope itself. It's like a very, very modified Prusik knot. And another one of the beauties of that is it doesn't get so tight under the rope like a Prusik knot will do at times. That's difficult to get undone. You can just simply just take your excess rope, slide it up, and it goes forward, lean back, and it grabs immediately. So slap strap does a lot of things. It gives you stability. It keeps your ropes in place. They're never going to fall down, whether it be your tether rope or the lineman's rope. I no longer have a need for saddlebags to carry any of that gear in because it's all included in that. I don't need an accessory strap. I don't need my mechanical devices for tendering. It's a one-stop operation, and again, it's taken 2.5 years to get this thing together, but I'm really proud of it. And we've just now started introducing it, and it's going to be one of those things. It's actually going to be one of those things that we're going to have a problem keeping it in stock, and that's a good thing.
That is a good problem to have. I want to speak on the mechanical Prusiks, like the Ropeman. I'm a brand new saddle hunter. Literally my first time in a real life hunting scenario is going to be tomorrow morning. I do have a Ropeman 2.0 on my linesman's belt. Because like you said, I had another company's linesman's belt, but the Prusik, everything was correct. The direction of the Prusik was correct. I just found that even with leaning forward and taking a little weight off, I didn't like the material of the rope, I think was the main issue. And now you add a little tree sap mixed into there or whatever it may be. It was not sliding that easy. So I have a new license belt with the Ropeman 2.0. I will say though, I like the fact that yours isn't mechanical only because if you don't take enough pressure off the rope before you release this rope, man, and this was a rookie error on my end, one or two times I caught myself, actually, it was still engaged on the rope a little bit. And it very lightly dug into the rope. But over time, that you don't want that to happen because now you're compromising your rope. So, and that's like the fact that you don't even have to worry about anything mechanical because those teeth are sharp enough. You will ruin a linesman's belt rope pretty quick.
One of the motivating factors, again, I'm all about anything safety is draw the line and we start trying to find a way to take the mechanical part out and put the hunter friendly in. So the hunter, but they can rest assured we have thought about it and we've tested it and we've got a system that's going to work a little better. The Ropemans work very good. They're very good products. They're very smooth. They work. Have to get you a little bit, but
Right.
but very well. There's nothing wrong with Ropemans. They do have the teeth and they are metal and it will eat into the rope after time. It just means replace your ropes every so often. Nothing bad to say about a Ropeman. It's a great device. It works wonderful. The slap strap, what we've done with that is those two ropes that are built into that slap strap run through channels along the back of that slap strap. So as you pull that rope around, it never comes in contact with the bark of the tree. Don't have a mechanical device on our tender hitch that bites into the rope. So that rope purely has either a channel it runs through or other rope attached to it. So that rope should last, I don't know, I don't want to say forever, but it's going to last.
Yeah.
It just safer.
I think I want one. And I hate that I have a saddle system that I'm looking at and it's not your product at the moment. It sounds interesting. I ain't gonna lie. I know it caught Chris's attention.
Yeah, it's we've only introduced it just recently. I mean, very recently, and we're getting just a tremendous feedback from it, and
Good.
I'm really pleased with that because it's adaptable for anybody's saddle system. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be just a hunter safety system saddle. It'll adapt to anybody's saddle. And, I've looked at most all the saddles out there, and I'm impressed with the companies that are building these saddles. I think there's a lot of good equipment out there, a lot of good products. So I'm pleased to see what that industry has done and where they've come from. And I think they're doing a fine job.
Now we do have a question from the audience here. Now,
Mhm.
what's the max diameter tree that and even the minimum that the slap strap can attach to safely?
The minimum is not at all because it'll go to any tree that you're going to be getting into. And you're not going to climb a tree that's going to be too small. But now on the flip side of that, it'll go to about 18 to 19 inches in diameter, which bigger than most trees that we hunt out of as saddle. We typically hunt out of a basketball sized tree as saddle hunters. And that's 9.5. So the slap strap go about twice that.
Yeah, that's a big tree. 19. That's a big tree.
Saddle hunting, that's the huge tree.
Yeah.
But that's a good question.
Yes, that's from one of our dedicated viewers that we were talking about on Instagram. So they're great. They're always tuning in. They always got good questions. Definitely, we saw some interest. As soon as you fully described what the slap strap was, there was a couple comments here on the Instagram side. Guys are interested. So whenever that becomes more available, anything we can do is, ourselves here on the show to help get the word out. Please let us know because uh, we're interested.
Well, I would recommend go on the Hunter Safety System site,
Hmm.
huntersafetysystem.com. Check it out, look at it, and it'll show you more of what it is and what it's about. And even better, go on YouTube
Yeah.
and HSS slap strap. And there's about 3 or 4 videos out there now that people have taken and they're showing. And that's even better because you get an actual video presentation of it, a full demonstration of it. So that's probably the best way I would say for somebody to find out what it's about and maybe answer any questions that might be foggy.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said early on, the website that Jerry just mentioned it's very comprehensive. The actual harnesses, the whole accessory lineup. We really didn't talk too much about retractable, pull up ropes, all the lines that we talked about, the carabiners that are rated. Um, be careful buying carabiners. Not every carabiner is meant for working at elevation. You know, if I'm not mistaken, they have to have a locking clasp, right? They can't just be a clasp that opens just under pressure. It's got to be threaded. Obviously, everything on Hunter Safety's website, it's all rated for safety use. That is where you want to be buying from. Don't get cheap with something like this. Again, this is literally going to keep you safe one day. Hopefully not, but if it happens, you don't want to be buying some cheap little Amazon not rated carabiner.
It's our life we're talking about. It's
Yes.
I know when we were developing, sending those off for testing, and how many tests are done on carabiners. It's an amazing. Don't just put a weight on it and pull it, and then okay, yeah, it passes or fails. Oh no, 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 no. It's sideways. It's open gate. It's partially open gate.
Mhm.
And it's not screwed down. There's just so many ways that they're tested, and I'm glad of that. I'm
Right.
glad that all those make sure if somebody does it wrong, somebody lock that gate down, or God forbid, even close the gate for whatever reason, got stuck in some material, that it's still going to. Not we want to have anybody not close that gate, close it. And
Now, I know we're getting a little later in the show here, but I do want to touch on other than like the slap strap. I'm sure you guys are constantly innovating. Is there any what's kind of the path forward that you see with hunter safety systems? Like what are you guys working on next without anything that's giving away any secrets? But like what do you see as like the next
Just the next chapter.
yeah, the next chapter, something something else that you can improve upon?
question, I'm always working on what it. It's what I call it. I'll talk to my guys and say, what itches? And I'll say, this itches. So I try to find what it scratches. It's kind of just a language I use around. So we start off, we have a little boardroom. We get our guys together and we issues. What are the issues? Where's the pain? Where's the itch? And we start with that and say, what can we do? How can we fix that? How can we make that better? How can we make that safer? And we're continually doing that. We've got one of the issues is trying to hang a lifeline that first time. You have to climb up that first time to hang it. Well, it's good for the rest of the season, but that first time up, connect because you're carrying it up with you. So I'm working on a device now that where I can hang that lifeline while still on the ground. And this has been, I guess I'm going on 6 years now trying to
Wow.
get, but it's important to me because I think we've got all those holes filled except that one right there, that first time up when you're hanging that lifeline. And I want to fill that hole. If I can fill that, then nobody in the ground. Just do the proper thing,
Right.
do it, and all the equipment to do it with. Yeah, but that's one of the things I'm working on. Obviously, on the saddle side of the world, we're just entering into that. January, we'll be going to the ATA show. Saddle products will be distributed throughout all of the dealer bases. So you can go to your local dealer and hopefully find our saddle products. We've got two saddles right now. One is our called the Wynder, and it's our upper level. It's got some very unique features to it. In the fact that it's got a foam base that's very soft and comfortable. It's got extra padding in the back of the leg area. That area that when I was surprised that that's been left off because that takes a lot of pressure on the back of your. So I've put a very thick, heavy duty padding on that area right there to help with that issue. We've done a few minor little things to make sure that you can almost muscle memory where your lineman loops are and where your uh, uh, tether loops are. Where I've got the lineman's loop and it has the orange inside, so it's easy. And the bottom portion is sewn to the bridge loop. So it'll never move. When you're looking for that lineman's belt hookup, you don't even have to look. It's there and it's not going to move because it's sewn to the bridge loop. So it's a minor little issue. It's a small issue, but we think that's going to make things safer because you're going to be off balance trying to find it and look around and
Right.
when you do that a few times, you develop the muscle memory. You don't even have to think about it. You just click, it's there, always be there. So there's small things like that that we've tried to add to our to make it more hunter friendly and certainly more safe. Now we also have a real lightweight mesh saddle unit that is extremely lightweight. It's under 2 pounds, and it's so comfortable and so light. It's almost frightening when you up. You might want to think, is this real? Because
Right.
that light. Uh, it's all the testing, everything is done with it, but it's just an easy, lightweight, same features in the back that we're talking about with the padding because I think that's important. Certainly, features in our loop and that bridge loop area because again, those are important features. So there's a couple saddles. I'm sure we will venture out. We're going to develop a few more. With the slap strap, I've already got 3 more areas of slap strap that we'll be introducing. That's in the works, and Some aren't necessarily for saddle hunting. They might be for climbers. They could be for hanging stands. They could be for different projects that somebody might be involved in, but they'll make life a whole lot easier and safer. Our platform, we're very proud of it. It has the beveled edge on the front to give you that comfortable foot area. It's got the pegs on it to give you that gripping effect. It's very easy to walk around the sides of it because we got areas where you can put your foot and stay right on it. It's got little grabbing points so you can walk around that platform. It's certainly adjustable like most are, so you can adjust it according to if that tree's not perfectly leveled, you can make that adjustment on it. So we're trying to find ways that make it, first of all, safe, and secondly, more hunter friendly.
Sounds awesome. Honestly, you guys are really like stepping outside that. I don't want to say the niche, but maybe of just fall protection, fall restraint. You're really embracing the whole outdoor aspect of it, which is awesome.
Well,
And I think that's just a testament of all the success you've had with your original products. I mean, it's a tip of the hat for you guys to even be able to be in this position where you can venture out like this.
it's a new venture, and
Yeah.
I know my staff have been after me for several years, and it makes sense that it does. But again, until I was able to develop that slab and some of the other things that we've done to make it, what I feel, to make it as safe as it can possibly be. I'm not saying it's unsafe now, uh, but I feel much better with what we've done. That's it's going to help. At some point, somebody's going to recognize that value. Say, I'm so glad I had that slap strap right there because without it, I may have had a problem. And that's, I guess, where I hang my hat. That's where people ask me all the time, how do you stay motivated doing a safety product? It's, and I
Yeah.
get it, get that. You have, I got yesterday to give you that reason to say, you know what, that's what they've,
Right.
very humbling experience.
And that's where social media, it's such a great tool. Our biggest saying is, when social media is used in the right format for the right reasons, with the right intentions, with the right people behind it, it's an unstoppable force and anything is possible. So for you guys, at Hunter Safety System, it could be, I don't know how many messages you get monthly that the products we use, but it's every single one of them that the team reads like, wow, like we were a part of that. That person's still around because of us.
I'm glad you brought that up because I have a lot of letters. I've got right at about 100 letters now from people that have fallen, that have, they all say the same thing. I never thought it would happen to me. Never thought it would happen to me. But yes, your product kept me from hitting the ground, and I just want to thank somebody. And
Yeah.
you get better, and wow, you'll be motivated to doing what you're doing. And I've got we got time for a quick story.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Probably the most heart letter I. It was a 6-page letter, handwritten, front and back. Handwritten 6-page letter, front and back. And this man said no less than 8 times throughout there, "Thank you for saving my life." And it was amazing how what he wrote and how much he wrote and how he expressed himself. He went into detail about the accident and how thankful he was and how grateful he was. At the end of it, at the end of the letter, he signed it and he put his phone number. And I thought, I got to, I mean, pages, my goodness, this guy deserves. Oh, I called. This tender little voice answers the phone, said hello. I could tell it was a child. Um, didn't know the age at the time. It turns out to be a 10-year-old boy. And he said hello. And I said, hi, can I speak with your dad? And as I heard myself say that, I thought, you know what? Okay, let me start over again. That sounded like a solicitor or something. I said,
Yeah.
listen, I'm with a company called Hunter Safety System, and if he's available. Dead silent phone. I thought, well, I guess I get his dad. So I'm just waiting. Well, all of a sudden that silence is broken with this 10-year-old voice that said, "Sir, did you say you're with Hunter Safety System?" And I said, yes, I am. And he says, "Thank you for saving my daddy's life." I can't hardly tell that story without choking up. That's a 10-year-old boy who wants to thank somebody for his daddy's life. And I finally said, "You know what, son, I can't talk to you anymore. I got a dad." Here. But that dad obviously had the whole family involved. He had told the whole family about this.
Right.
And that was probably one of the most heart-wrenching letters I had gotten, and response I got back uh, from somebody involved. But that'll motivate
you. Damn right it will. That's a hell of a story, Jerry. Thank you for sharing that.
Well, you know what? I think that story needs to be shared.
Absolutely.
That man, it meant a lot to him, and it certainly meant a lot to me. The fact that, um, if you think about it, okay, I've got 700 letters. Who writes a letter? Who does that?
Right.
You're hunting and you fell and the harness caught you, and you get back on your stand and you finish your hunt, and then you come home and eat dinner and get cleaned up, kiss the kids good night, and oh yeah, I want to write a letter. And then, well, who do I write it to? Now I got to do some research to figure out who I'm going to write it to, and then take the time to write it and lick it, stick it, send it. And who does that? Um, I'm so grateful and thankful that some people do, but I wish I was more like that. I don't know that I would. I
Right.
wish I, but I'm certainly very grateful because again, that keeps me motivated to do what I do. It's very easy to get lackadaisical, or we've already tested this stuff before. I don't need to send another one for testing, or you could just work. I'm busy. No, we build safety products, and they got to be right. So I got to stay motivated. The staff stays motivated. And by the way, when I get those letters, share them with our staff. Everyone,
Good.
see it, read it, because that woman that wrote that isn't just talking to me. They want anybody and everybody that had anything to do with it, and everybody that works for me had something to do with that. Whether they took the order, they boxed it, they shipped it, whatever it was, they had a hand in it, and it helps to motivate them. Like it,
Well, I've been with you for 20 years, and I'm not changing now. So, for whatever that's worth, it's a damn good product.
appreciate that, and I'll do my best to make sure that it's going to be up to par, making sure you're going to.
Absolutely. Producer Chris, buddy. I mean, I don't know how we could top that story. So it's almost like we ended on a high note, and we talk about where everybody could find maybe Hunter Safety System media. What do you think?
Yeah, that's. I don't even know how to follow that, Jerry.
Yeah.
Honestly, but if you could tell everybody where they can, I know they can get it in stores, but tell everybody where they can find more information about your products.
You can find anything you're looking for at our website, and that's huntersafetysystem.com. We have a lot of videos on YouTube. We're 4 years now, started 20 year, and it's sort of a anniversary time and a new time to bring out new products. So I'm excited about that. But yeah, if you have any questions, um, I take a lot of phone calls, and I'm willing to take a lot of phone calls. If anybody would want to talk to me or have a question, feel free. My number is 877-296-3528. And I'm happy to share experiences or answer questions or whatever you might need.
Well, thank you for that, Jerry. I mean, listen, that's personal service right there. If you
You
can
ain't
reach
kidding.
out and get answers right from the man himself. So
Well, end users, because I don't get a chance to see you very often. A lot of shows, but they're industry shows, so
Right.
but I don't get much of a chance to see people that are buying my product. I really enjoy and take advantage of the times I do get to do that. So that again, it's motivating for me to do that. I enjoy it.
No, we could tell you have a very your tone changes when you talk business. It's for the right reasons. It's very genuine. So we believe you.
I'm blessed. The company's blessed, and we think we got a mission here that we're on, and we're gonna stay the course.
Absolutely. And like we said before the show, thank you so much for carving out some time. Obviously, we know the season's kicking off. So for yourself, honestly, the whole hunter safety team, anything we could do moving forward, whether it's my brand, Chris's brand, or the show in particular, this is our joint venture here, Pursuit Live. We're in our third season now. We're very committed to it. We're having a lot of fun doing it. So anything we could do in the future to help hunter safety system, please just let us know. We are there for you guys as well.
You guys got a great forum, and it's not like all forums, and I'll just tell you that it's live, it's speaking stories, it's not trying to sell product, it's not
No.
endorsing. It's for what it is, and for the value of your listeners and your viewers, that it makes a big difference. And congratulations on the forum that you started and still have. I'm really impressed.
Thank you for that.
Well, thank you, sir. We try. So
The biggest thing is we're having fun. We keep it. We're very modest. We're very realistic with where we're at in the grand journey, but we're having fun doing it. So no reason to stop now.
God bless you. Keep going on.
Absolutely. All right, producer Chris, what do you think, buddy?
that's it. So Jerry, again, thank you for taking the time out to chat with us tonight. This was not just informative. It was fun. This was an
That
amazing
last
talk.
story though was thank you for sharing
Yeah.
that last story was something.
That's one that needs to. Guys, listen. I really enjoyed it. Thank you for.
Right.
No, well, thank you,
Open
Jerry.
invite then. We'll have maybe we'll have you later in the season.
Anytime, call me.
There you go. So
Awesome.
again, Jerry, thank you for taking the time out to chat with us tonight. This, thank you for everything that you're doing in the outdoor industry, that you have done for us and that you continue to do. Because let's be honest, what you guys are doing is keeping people in the woods.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you're keeping people in the woods, you're keeping them safe, and you're helping promote the sport and propagate the sport. And that's we need more of that. So thank you to you, thank you to your whole team. Thank you to everybody who tuned in tonight, and thank you to everybody who's going to listen to this in the future. Good luck to everybody who will be out there this season. Please hunt safely, tie off. And with that, we'll catch everybody next week right here on Pursuit Live.